There is a voice inside your head that only gets louder the closer you get to something meaningful, something that could change your life for the better, and it whispers things like you are not ready, you are going to fail, who do you think you are? And the more you try to push that voice away, the louder it screams. But here is the truth that most people never realize: that voice is not your enemy, it is not a flaw, it is not a sign that you are broken, it is actually a part of your human nature that has been trying to protect you from the unknown. And Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, understood this better than anyone. He believed that our internal conflicts are not random noise but are patterns of the psyche that shape our behavior. And today we are going to break down 3 distinct voices that live inside your mind. The first one attacks you, the second one controls you, and the third one can set you free. And by the end of this video you will know exactly which one has been running your life and how to finally take back control with awareness and intention. So let us start with the first voice, the critical inner voice. This is the voice that tells you that you are not good enough, that you are a fraud, that everyone else has it figured out except you, and it often shows up right when you are about to step into something bigger, like a new job, a relationship, a creative project, or even just speaking your truth. Jung described the shadow as the unconscious part of our personality that we reject because it feels unacceptable. But the shadow does not disappear, it just goes underground, and from there it projects onto others and onto ourselves. And one of its favorite tactics is to use your own words against you. It takes your deepest insecurities and repeats them back to you in your own inner voice, so it sounds like you, but it is not really you. It is the part of you that learned early on that being visible was dangerous, that standing out would get you punished, that trying and failing was worse than not trying at all, and that survival meant staying small. Now think about a time when you were about to take a risk. Maybe you were about to ask someone out, or apply for a promotion, or start a business, and right before you did, that voice piped up with something like, what if you embarrass yourself? What if they say no? What if you lose everything? And because it felt so real and so convincing, you backed down. You played it safe, and you told yourself you made the right choice, but deep down you knew you had just let fear win. And that is the critical inner voice doing its job. It is not trying to harm you, it is trying to keep you in the familiar, because familiar feels safe to the primitive part of your brain, even when that familiar is holding you back. But here is where it gets interesting. Because the critical inner voice is not the only voice in your head, there is a second voice, and this one is even more dangerous because it does not attack you, it commands you, and this is the voice of the demanding self. Now this might sound like a good thing at first, because ambition and discipline are valuable qualities, but when this voice goes rogue, it becomes a tyrant. It tells you that you have to be perfect, that you have to have it all figured out, that you cannot show weakness, that you must perform, achieve, and dominate at all costs. And it uses language like you should, you must, you have to, and it never lets up. It drives you to burnout, to people-pleasing, to perfectionism, and it makes you believe that your worth is tied to your output, that if you are not constantly producing or winning, you are worthless. Now this voice is often praised by society, we call it ambition or discipline, but when it is driven by fear rather than purpose, it becomes a prison. Jung talked about the persona, which is the mask we wear to fit in and be accepted, and the demanding self in its shadow form is obsessed with that mask. It wants to control how others see you, it wants to be admired and respected, and it will sacrifice your peace, your health, and your relationships to get that validation. And the worst part is, you might not even realize this voice is running the show because it sounds so reasonable. It sounds like your responsible self, but if you pay close attention, you will notice that it never gives you a break. It never says you are enough, it always moves the goalpost. You get the promotion, and then it says now you have to get the next one. You lose 10 pounds, and it says you need to lose 10 more. You finish a project, and it says the next one has to be even better. And that is the demanding self in overdrive. It is the part of you that is terrified of being ordinary, of being forgotten, of being average, and so it pushes you relentlessly. But here is the truth that most people never realize: that voice is not your true self. It is a survival mechanism that was created to protect you from the pain of rejection, but now it is the very thing causing your suffering, and this leads us to the third voice, the balanced and conscious self. This is the voice that neither attacks nor commands, it observes, it understands, it integrates, and it is grounded in self-awareness and reflection. Jung called this process individuation, which is the journey of becoming more whole by bringing together all the parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the strong and the weak, the confident and the scared, and the balanced self speaks in a tone that is calm, curious, and compassionate. It does not say you are not enough, it says you are a work in progress. It does not say you have to be perfect, it says you can learn and grow. It does not say you are a failure, it says you are human, and this voice is not weak. It is actually the most powerful voice of all because it does not need to dominate or control. It is grounded in self-awareness and self-acceptance, and when you learn to listen to this voice, you stop fighting yourself, you stop wasting energy on inner war, and you begin to move through life with clarity and purpose. But here is the catch: you cannot access this balanced voice by ignoring or suppressing the other two. You have to acknowledge them, you have to understand what they are trying to protect you from, and you have to make peace with them with the understanding that your ultimate guidance comes from your Creator. Jung practiced something called active imagination, which is a technique where you dialogue with the different parts of your psyche. You literally ask them what they want and what they are afraid of, and when you do that, you stop being controlled by them and start working with them. For example, when you hear the critical inner voice say you are going to fail, instead of fighting it, you can say, I hear you. You are scared, and I appreciate that you are trying to keep me safe, but I am going to try anyway while placing my trust in God. And when you hear the demanding self say you have to be perfect, you can say, I understand that you want me to be respected, but I am going to give myself permission to be imperfect and seek excellence without obsession. And over time, these voices soften, they integrate, and they become allies rather than enemies. And this is where real success happens, not when you silence your inner critic, but when you transform it into an inner coach, not when you eliminate your ambition, but when you align it with your true values and with what is pleasing to your Creator. And the beauty of this process is that it applies to every area of your life, your career, your relationships, your health, your creativity, because every breakthrough you have ever made was preceded by a moment of doubt. And the people who succeed are not the ones who never feel doubt. They are the ones who feel it and move forward anyway with trust in God and in their own abilities. They have learned to talk back to their inner voices in a way that is respectful yet firm. They have integrated their shadow, they have tamed their inner tyrant, and they have found their authentic voice. So what does this look like in practice? Let me give you a real example. Imagine someone who is about to give a big presentation. The critical voice says you are going to mess up and everyone will laugh. The demanding self says you have to be flawless or you will lose your reputation. But the balanced conscious self says, I am prepared, I am nervous, and that is okay. I will do my best, and if I stumble, I will learn from it, I will seek guidance and improvement. And that person walks into the room with confidence, not because they are not afraid, but because they have made peace with their fear. They are not fighting themselves, they are being themselves, and that authenticity is magnetic. People can feel it, and that is what ultimately leads to success, not perfection, but presence and sincerity. Now you might be wondering, how do I start this process? How do I move from being controlled by these voices to integrating them? The first step is to simply notice. Next time you hear that critical voice or that demanding voice, pause and label it. Say, oh, that is my critical inner voice talking, or that is my demanding self. Just naming it takes away some of its power because you are no longer identified with it, you are observing it, and observation is the beginning of freedom. The second step is to ask it a question. What are you afraid of? What are you trying to protect me from? And listen to the answer without judgment. You might be surprised to find that behind the criticism or the demand is a genuine concern, a fear of failure, a fear of rejection, a fear of being insignificant. And once you see that, you can respond with compassion rather than resistance. while also recognizing that ultimate security and provision come from God. The third step is to choose a new response. Instead of reacting automatically, you consciously choose how to engage with that voice. You can say, "Thank you for your concern, I am going to take a different approach," and then you act from your balanced self, from your values, from your true purpose, and over time, this becomes a habit. You train your mind to move from inner war to inner peace, and the results are transformative, not just in how you feel, but in what you achieve. Because when you are not wasting energy on self-doubt and self-criticism, you have more energy for creativity, connection, and contribution. You show up more fully in your relationships, you take smarter risks, you bounce back faster from setbacks, and you experience a sense of fulfillment that no external success can give you. And this is the deepest teaching of Carl Jung, that the goal of life is not to eliminate the shadow or to become perfect, but to become more whole, to integrate all parts of yourself into a unified whole, and that wholeness is the foundation of true success. And as believers, we understand that this journey of self-awareness is also a journey toward recognizing our dependence on and connection to our Creator, who knows what is in our hearts and guides us toward what is good. So I want to leave you with a question. Which voice has been running your life? The one that attacks you, the one that controls you, or the one that observes and integrates? And more importantly, what would change if you started listening to the balanced conscious self today, not someday, not when you have it all figured out, but right now, in this very moment? Because the truth is that you already have the capacity for awareness and growth inside you. The critic, the demanding self, and the balanced self are all parts of the same mind, and they are all waiting for you to lead them, not by force, but by awareness, not by suppression, but by understanding. And when you do that, you will stop being your own worst enemy and start being your own greatest ally, with the help and guidance of God. Thank you for listening. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might be fighting their own inner voices. Sometimes the right words at the right time can change everything. And if you are ready to continue this journey of self-mastery, subscribe to Mindful Insights and turn on notifications, because understanding the architecture of your mind is the first step toward living a life of purpose and freedom. The voices will always be there, but the power to choose which one you listen to, combined with the guidance and strength from your Creator, that power has always been yours.